We've peeled back the curtains. We've opened the floodgates. It is Nintendo Direct season, and I'm not talking about a small one. We're talking about the big Nintendo Direct we've all been waiting for. So what's going on, everybody? It's Zach from SwitchForce. Fill you in on what's going on, the different rumors that are coming in, and then, of course, the one from SwitchForce himself. Now, some people are saying, like, why is everybody talking about Directs? They always just want the next one. Why can't they be happy with what we had? Dudes, we haven't had a general Nintendo Direct since before the Switch 2 came out. They didn't do the traditional June Nintendo Direct. We got the partner showcase in July. We got the Indie World in August. I think it's totally justified and maybe even expected that we'd be insanely excited for the next Nintendo Direct, which is like the actual Nintendo Direct, right? Like the general Direct is the actual Nintendo Direct. That's where Nintendo's there and says, ta-da, this is what we've got. Here's the dates and here's what's coming next. That's the one everybody's waiting for. That's the one everybody's excited for. So to say like, oh man, why is everybody talking about Direct? Duh, of course they were going to have one. Really? They didn't have one in June. They've messed up before in past years where the patterns have not aligned. They skipped out on major sessions. And so it's not just, oh, they're having a Nintendo Direct. It's that they're having a general Nintendo Direct. And it's that they're having a general Nintendo Direct in just a few short weeks. Let's take a look at what this SwitchForce guy has to say. I think this is so funny to read my own tweets on here, so I try to make it goofy. Nintendo tried to phone in an emergency about the missing Switch 2 games, but they accidentally dialed 912. It's a bad misdial. It's never going to go through correctly, Nintendo. You got these dates that you need to announce. You got new games that you need to announce. And you're pressing the wrong buttons. You're pressing 912. You know what that means, right? Well, everybody has kind of tried to suss this out. And they're saying, duh, a Nintendo Direct in September. But as far as I'm understanding, this tweet is getting a little bit more specific than that. This tweet is giving you the information that you need to find out when you should be ready for this Direct. You should look at this and be able to decipher when that Direct's taking place. And people are saying Directs don't usually happen on that day, but alas, let's go back and look at SwitchForce's earlier post. All right. The general Direct we've all been waiting for is earlier than you'd expect and on a day you wouldn't anticipate. And now let me clarify some things, because I saw a lot of people saying that they thought the general Nintendo Direct would be end of September based on when game releases were coming out and when they expected Mario 40 the stuff to take place. So they said end of September. So I thought earlier than expected, because people, what I was seeing and reading, was late September. So this is early to mid-September, and a day you wouldn't anticipate, because nobody is thinking that Friday, gotta get down on Friday, is a day for Nintendo Directs. But it's not just this SwitchForce hooligan, okay? Sources have also told VGC that a Nintendo Direct presentation is in fact planned for mid-September, and Nash Weedle, a pretty strong leaker, at least for the Switch 2 era, has said that it would be the second week of September as well. So we're getting a lot of things that are kind of honing in on the same time frame. I will say that mine is the most specific, so, you can take that for what it is. But we do have other people corroborating this. We have other people publishing stories about this and other people saying their sources have told them as well. So there's a lot happening. There's a lot at once right now today, and that's why it's a really great moment. And I don't think anyone should feel bad about being excited for our big Direct. Now, a lot of people have also been talking about this multiple Directs thing, right? Like maybe there's a Mario Direct, maybe there's a General Direct, and maybe there is a Metroid Prime 4 Direct, like a game-specific Direct to piggyback along these, right? And so we have this potentially humongous month coming where you're going to get third-party and first-party announcements and indie announcements probably all in this same month, and they're all going to be ready for you to view and give you the idea of what's coming next, right? Give you that glimpse into the future that we've been missing. Now, I can tell you, as the dude who's making those tweets, that yeah, I know when this Direct is, and I'm telling you, it is the big one. You're right. It is the general Direct you've been waiting for, and it should be a very exciting show. We'll touch on it more as we get closer. A lot of people saying, how could he possibly know? He doesn't know. Somebody tweeted me, another YouTuber was like, oh, of course there's a Direct in September. They don't know what they're talking about. It's like, yes. I understand that 9 out of 10 times there is a Direct in September, but if you look at my tweets, I'm giving you more info, guys. I'm giving you more info than that. You just got to read between the lines and figure it out. And look, a lot of people I think are on board with that, and a lot of people are believing it since I called the partner showcase, called the Indie World, and now I'm calling the General Direct. So, if you still don't believe it, then whatever. There's some people that continue to say like, oh my gosh, he's just making it up. He's on a high after getting the Indie World lucky and getting that right, and that was lucky. No, it's not. It's not that, but we can wait 2 more weeks and see, and then you'll find out. This month, though, should, like I said in my State of Switch video, really just set the table. Now, this rumor of 3 directs, I think might be like, it depends on kind of how things are dated, right? Mario Anniversary obviously does take place in September, so that one I totally understand. Last time there was a big Mario Anniversary, it was the 35th anniversary, and they held that direct on the 3rd of September, very early in the month. Now, people have noted that the direct anniversary, like the exact date, is September 13th, so a September 12th direct feels pretty good. Now, in terms of, though, having a third direct, right, having a Metroid Prime specific direct, I think a lot of that probably depends on when the game is coming out, all right? And if they feel like that game needs more push. We've seen interesting things lately. We had a Metroid Prime 4 demo playable at both Gamescom, Fan Expo. It's going to be at PAX West. We know that they're also going to have at TGS a Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment demo. Kirby Air Riders got their direct, game-specific direct, just last week. And, you know, when you look at it, maybe it doesn't matter. Maybe when this game comes out, it doesn't really matter, and actually Nintendo just kind of does what they want to do and what they feel is needed for the game. I feel like during this launch period more than ever before, Nintendo is kind of operating like at a moment's notice. Like, depending on where games are at, what's being announced, what's being confirmed, what's being dated, what maybe it was delayed, they kind of roll with the punches. So they gave you like, hey, we've got this Metroid Prime 4 demo playable to the public before we even have the date for the game, but then we've got a Kirby Air Riders direct before we even dated Metroid Prime 4, which has been shown for over a year, like much more than Kirby Air Riders, and yet Kirby Air Riders is coming out the end of November, which I think has to be beyond the date of when Metroid Prime 4 Beyond releases. So it just becomes a big calendar mess, and it looks like Nintendo could probably operate any way they want. On one hand, you could say if Metroid Prime is coming out very soon, then they could have a direct in September. And on the other hand, you could say if they're not releasing very soon, like maybe it's actually December, then they could still have the direct because Nintendo has behaved oddly as of late. And that's why I think the pattern thing, can't be relied on. I know Nintendo is a company of history and is a company of repetition in a lot of ways, but this year in particular, given the Switch 2 launch, has not been to norm. It has not been exactly the same. It has been different. And that's why I feel like taking a September direct for granted is maybe a little bit silly this year. And, taking a direct of like, oh, of course it was going to be week 2. No, of course it was not going to be week 2. There was many weeks they could have put this. They could have chosen to have the direct in August. They could have chosen to have it in July. They didn't do the big direct in June. Instead, they had the Donkey Kong Bonanza direct, I believe on June 18th. And then that game came out a little bit later. Nintendo has been kind of messy as of late. But the good news is that the mess culminates in a general direct, and that's the big show that everybody's been waiting for. I fully encourage you to geek out, freak out, and get excited. I mean, this is the big moment since we first got Switch 2 announcements, right? We got Switch 2 announcements, and we were like, oh my god, DK Bonanza looks crazy. Mario Kart World looks crazy. They're doing Hyrule Warriors again. They're doing Kirby Air Riders again. Like, those were big announcements. That's the last general direct, guys. That's the last time we heard Nintendo themselves lifting up their first-party lineup. And in a lot of ways, that's the most important part and most important piece of a new Nintendo console. And since this console has come out, we haven't heard them speak on it at all. Like, we were lucky that we got, yes, a announcement of Splatoon Raiders over on Nintendo Today. But that's sort of an appetizer, I believe. It's a spin-off game, and while it could be super cool, I'm excited for it, the big stuff comes in the general directs. And we need big dates. We need big announcements. We need big games. And that is what we've been waiting for. So this date and this tweet by this SwitchForce guy who's had a pretty dang good track record, in fact, a pretty perfect track record, I think is super exciting, and I think you should be excited for it. And, as we get closer, maybe more and more will be apparent, but this presentation is going to be sick. All right, you're going to like it. There is big stuff. Okay, so this is going to be, I think, something that we need and something that we have needed for a while. And in my mind, like if I was Nintendo, I would have done this earlier. I think it would have saved a lot of headache. But for them, like they feel like, hey, we've sold more consoles than anybody in this time period, the fastest selling console. We know that we have games coming out regularly. We've already had 2 big games, and these people online are a little crazy. And yes, I'll admit that. Like, when other YouTubers are saying like, oh, people are crazy about a direct. They always just talk about the directs and they want the directs. Yeah, we're a little crazy. But that's part of the huge fun of being a Nintendo fan. And if you're not a Nintendo fan, then you don't get it. But part of the fun is having this direct expectation, having these direct predictions, getting excited for the direct, and wanting to see what your company, your favorite game maker is going to make. And maybe others don't understand it as much because like Sony's over there putting out one exclusive. Xbox is out there trying to figure out if they even have a exclusive anymore. Nintendo, though, they're going to announce multiple exclusives, right? They're going to have multiple dates for big games, and they're going to have a real lineup that nobody else can quite compare to in terms of platform holders. So it's different. It's fun. It's a little crazy. Maybe we are overexcited about it, but in this case, it's super justified. It has not been a direct for months, and by the time this comes out, it'll have been a long time, and a system has came out, and we haven't heard Nintendo speak really since that system. So General Direct in about 2 weeks' time. It should be very fun. It should be very good. We'll continue to develop this story as we go. Check my tweets, all right? Check my tweets. Follow me on Twitter, twitter.com/theswitchforce, x.com. Thank you so much to all of you who believe me, who are part of the hashtag Trust SwitchForce cause, and I appreciate all you, no matter what, for watching. Thank you for being here. Love you all lots. Can't wait for that direct. Of course, more videos in the meantime. Till then, though, stay safe, stay healthy, stay happy, stay positive there. Love you lots. SwitchForce out.